do you think of seeing Juan Soto in the orange and blue the other day for the first time?
How great is that, right? I mean, to have him on the team, it'll be exciting to watch him, how he plays. He's so singularly focused on baseball. And so, it'd be great having him in the lineup, right? It's pretty exciting. I think the fans are going to love it.
Just seeing all your work and the culmination of that whole free agency period of wooing him, how does it kind of come together when you see him pick up that bat and step in there?
Yeah, I mean, it's always nice when a plan comes together, and the plan came together, and it's exciting to think about having him, but once you see him starting to hit in the cage, and looking forward to him to playing games, and I think he's going to create a lot of excitement for the team.
It's become a running joke, the 3 to 5 year World Series thing. But
Yeah.
at the Soto press conference, you said you had told him you could see the team winning 2 to 4 over the next decade. Why do you think that? Or why are you not afraid to say that out loud?
You always want to set high standards and high goals. There's no guarantee in anything, right? It's really hard to win a World Series, but the thought of we're putting together a team, not just a team good for 1 year, but we want to create sustainable success. And if we keep making the playoffs, why can't we find, get to the ultimate goal? And so why not set a high goal and try to make it?
This is your fifth team here. How do you feel about this team compared to how you felt at other times in spring?
Yeah, I've listened to other times. I felt we've had a pretty good team, and certainly coming out of 22, I thought 23 would be a great team, and it turned out to be different. So you can write it down on paper, but there's no guarantees. And so I always say we got to play the games, and you don't know about injuries, you don't know how people are going to play, but on paper we look like a really strong team with a lot of depth, and I think to get through spring training, 162 games, and playoffs, we're going to need that depth, and so I'm excited by who we have on the team. I think it's a team that is going to produce runs. I think our pitching is going to surprise people. I mean, I know there's a lot of talk about starting pitching, and the other thing is we're flexible. One thing, if we have to make changes or improve the team during the year, we saw what we did in 24, and we'll do it again in 25.
Steve, with the learning curve that you've had as an owner since you bought the team, obviously being kind of new to the game, is this year kind of the first year that you've got almost everything where you want? In Stearns, you have the president of baseball operations you want. You're getting the star power roster that you probably always imagined. Is this kind of really the first year it's all come together in that way? And even where you're at on the learning curve for that too.
Yeah, I think on paper we look really good. I think from a management point of view, we have a group that's going to be together for a while, and I think having that type of stability is really important. But we still have to play the games, and we still have a ways to go for as infrastructure. I think we've moved things along a lot, but I always believe in innovating and never accepting a certain, always trying to push it further. And so, and that's going to be the philosophy of the team. I mean, we're going to try to make all aspects of the club, the infrastructure, elite. And those are my goals, and I tend to have high goals.
What would make this year a success in your eyes?
Well, we got to make the playoffs. Okay, that's the minimum. After getting a taste of being in the league championship, we want to go to the World Series, right? And we want to win. And if we put ourselves in that position enough, maybe it doesn't happen this year, maybe it does. But if we keep putting ourselves in position in the playoffs and to make a deep run, we're going to win a World Series at some point.
Steve, you had a lot of unsung heroes last year that helped you guys get to 2 wins away from the World Series. Jose Iglesias was one of them. Just what are your thoughts on the situation? I mean, he's obviously not here, but you have brought a lot of back guys from last year, kind of keeping the chemistry going and whatnot. So just interested to hear what you have to say about that.
Yeah, listen, every year there's always new players on a team, and chemistry, happens. Doesn't just happen walking into spring training. It takes a while for the team to gel, Listen, as far as individual players, I leave it to my baseball people to decide who they want on the team.
Steve, you mentioned something like infrastructure.
Yeah.
Can you talk about some stuff you think you still have to close the gap on? You at your introductory press conference, you talked about like the Dodgers, where it's kind of humming on all facets. What do you think you have to close the gap still on to hum on all facets?
Yeah, listen, I'm not familiar with exactly, it looks like the Dodgers are humming, but hard to know from the outside looking in. I mean, I'm sure all organizations have stuff they have to work on. I think, I want to be a team that can improve players. And I think we're, from a pitching perspective, we've been able to do that. And I still think we're trying to figure it out from a hitting perspective. And so, and I think you and I've had conversations in the past where everyone's working on pitching, and everybody thinks they can improve pitching. But if we can do that, then I think that would be a real leap forward. And so that would be an exciting prospect. We're always trying to improve the technology of the infrastructure, and if we can find new ways to deploy technology in innovative ways, maybe using AI, machine learning in new ways, that would be kind of exciting. So there's always something to do, and I leave it to the baseball people to come to me and with the type of things they want to work on.
Is there any level of frustration that you weren't able to get under that $301 million?
I mean, I wouldn't say frustrating, but I mean, it always seems like ball players are more expensive than you think. And so, it comes back to, I think, ultimately having a farm system that is producing players, because obviously they're controllable, they're cheaper, and you need a mix. And I think we're going to get there, and I hope we get there soon. If we get there, I think that really makes it easier to kind of get to probably a more normal spending level.
Is the toughest part for you the penalties or the draft pick? Well, I mean, the draft pick is part of the penalty, but the financial penalties or the drafting lower.
So nobody wants to spend money and pay tax, right? I mean, those are expensive taxes, and so obviously, but also, I mean, that is a losing draft position and/or draft picks at some, is an expense. Is an expense. You don't see it on the bottom line, but it's an expense, and both are probably not optimal as far as trying to run a team.
This year, payroll-wise, you guys are at about 325 according to some of the public estimates. How does that compare to what you thought at the end of last season?
Well, let me put it different. I mean, I've always wanted to be a little more measured in payroll growth, and then we get there, and it's never quite there. I mean, I have the ability to spend if I have to, and I want to win, and I want to put the best team I can on the field, and so. But I mean, there's certain things I mean. Getting free agency is expensive. It's just the way it is, and it's always more expensive than you can imagine.
When you say get the spending down to a more reasonable level, when you start to use the farm system in the ways that you want, what is a reasonable level?
I mean, I'd like to get below the Cohen tax, or, whatever. I'm sure it's about me. There's a lot of Cohens out there. I mean, I was saying to somebody before, I'm a piker now compared to the Dodgers.
Steve, you mentioned the Dodgers. Hal Steinbrenner recently said that it's hard for us owners, most of us owners, to keep up with them. How do you view what the Dodgers are doing? Do you think that's what they're doing is bad for the sport?
Well, I'm not going to get into whether something's bad or good. They've built a great business over there with revenues that are significantly above almost any other team, and that gives them the ability to do things that perhaps other teams can't do. And so kudos to them. I mean, they've built a great organization.
Steve, when you take a look at the business side of your day job compared to this side, this baseball seems every year to rapidly change. Have you seen the differences in baseball since you've been here and how rapid the changes to the landscape are?
Have you ever traded markets before? They change pretty rapidly too. So I'm actually pretty I mean, there's a lot of similarities between being in the markets, running a hedge fund, and running a team. And a lot of it has to do that things change pretty quickly, or you have to have, pretty flexible thinking. How you think, what's happening, you have to be really adaptable when things are changing. And so there are a lot of similarities there, and I'm kind of used to doing it.
What you think about some of the deferred money that the Dodgers and some other teams, do you see that being a trend? How do you feel about that? That doesn't seem to be how you guys are operating.
I love deferring money if I can. Okay, it just so happens my players, I'm not getting lucky enough to. But I think that's a little bit of a red herring, and because they're also giving big signing bonuses too. And I think what's really happening there is they're trying to balance out the signing bonus with the deferral. If you notice, they tend to be in the same ballpark. And so I think people are focused on deferral and maybe not thinking about the fact that they're advancing cash at the beginning. So I'm not sure that's a real issue.
Steve, you mentioned both doing what is necessary to win, and trying to lower the number below the current threshold.
Right. Yeah.
Does wanting to win again this year if more stuff comes from your baseball people that they want to do?
Well,
if it means expanding your payroll further.
We're pretty up there. I mean, we're at 325, and we're not including IL placements and then bringing up minor league players, and that adds to the payroll. And then obviously we want to reserve some money for the trade deadline. And so already I can envision if things go probably the way they're going to go. I mean, it could easily be 340, 345. That's a pretty hefty payroll.
Yeah.
How long is that sustainable for you? Like, if this doesn't go the way you want it to go, how many years can you continue doing that?
I mean, it's really hard to look out into the future, hard to know. I take it year to year. I mean, I can finance it. I mean, is that the most optimal way to run a team? Probably not.
So it's the difference between can, which isn't a question,
right,
and want to.
Well, I wrestle with that all the time. Even this year, I had a thought of like where I wanted to be, and I've already blown through it. Yeah. And so, and I really wanted to be there, and just circumstances just created all right, I'm going to have to adapt my thinking.
Where was that?
And, well, I'm not going to say what it was, but, but I mean, it seems like when you really get to the end, it's just that, I'll say it again, free agency is a lot more expensive than even you planned for that year.
Why did you ultimately decide to blow through it?
Listen, I want a winning team, and I want to put the best team I can on the field, and the way it went was, it just turned out that's hard to know what pitchers you're going to sign, hard to know what position players you're going to sign, and you try to be somewhat measured, but in the end you have to make decisions, and it's just sort of the way it ends up playing out. And I still say it comes back to ultimately having a farm system that's producing players that can moderate the payroll.
Was Pete part of that initial projection, or did that kind of become an add-on?
I don't remember exactly. I mean, we always thought that Pete would be part of the team.
Okay.
And then, obviously there were moments during that when we thought maybe he wasn't going to be part of the team, right? He was maybe considering going to other places. Mm-hmm. And then the question is, well, who would you replace him with? And depending if you signed him or didn't sign him, actually would have a reasonable effect on what the ultimate payroll would be.
What's the state of the Willis Point project that you're trying to get done?
Yeah, we're trying to move it forward. This is an important year. We got to get the property rezoned, and I mean that's a state legislature issue, and I'm hopeful that we can somehow get it rezoned. If it isn't rezoned, then obviously that would be a problem. And then once we get it rezoned, if we get it rezoned, then we have to win the license. So it's a two-step process. All of it's probably going to happen in the next year, and we'll see what happens.
Will you move forward with that if you don't get the license, or is it all in or nothing?
Yeah, I think we need an economic engine to make that work. I mean, you've got to take the parking lot, build parking garages, and that's wildly expensive. You have to, and then the ground that we're building on, you need tons of pylons and that's really expensive. It's an expensive piece of property to build on. and it really needs an economic engine. And without it, it would be impossible to make any economic sense of it.
Stephen, I believe at the last owners meeting you were put on the executive, named to the executive council.
Yes.
A big issue over the next 24 months is going to be, are the owners going for a salary cap or not? Do you think you need a salary cap?
You know, it's 2025. I mean, I'm kind of focused on 2025. A lot can happen between now and then. And as I get up to speed, I'll know more, and I'm not really worrying about it right now.
Do you think it would take away a large advantage that you currently have if that came along?
I'll compete under any circumstance. I mean, you tell me the rules, and I'll compete against them. Yeah.
What did you make of where the Mets ranked as far as attendance last year?
Yeah, I didn't like it. Okay, that really bothered me. 18th in attendance when we're right in the middle of a pennant race. I've said this before. The series against the Nationals, right before the final Philly series, I think there were 18,000 fans in the stadium during a great pennant race. And so I'm really hopeful this year. I mean, I'm told that usually attendance lags performance. And so I'm really looking forward to this year being a year when the fans come out. I think the fans are having a great time. I mean, when I look out on the stadium, I think it's a great game presentation. We have a great team, I think. I'm really excited by. I think it's going to be a fun place to be this year.
Was that part of the thinking with Soto? I mean, not just that he's a great player that's going to help the team win, but he also brings a drawing card to the.
Yeah, I would call it a secondary consideration. And when you get a chance to get a generational ball player like that, they don't grow on trees. And when you actually looked at it, it might have been a while before someone of that caliber would be available again. And so that's a pretty rare opportunity, and so that's why I thought it was important to try to give the best effort we could to get him.
Well, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. turned down the extension for the Blue Jays, and he'll be available next offseason.
Yeah, he's a great ball player, and you know, once again, I'll worry about that next year. You know, obviously with payroll considerations, and you really can't have. I mean, you can't have too many long-term contracts because then you lose your roster flexibility. So you got to be really careful. But I'll let my baseball people make that decision.
Steve, you mentioned that you were disappointed in the attendance towards the end of the season. What do you attribute that to? Not your disappointment.
That people didn't show up. I mean, I can't speak for why that is, and I think it has a lot to do with generally attendance lags performance, and you know, I think there's always been a little bit of skepticism with the Mets and believing that we're going to be sustainable winners, you know, sustainably in the playoffs. And I think I said it in the clubhouse in a celebration. I think Met fans have had this negative perception of the Mets and their fandom, and one of my goals is to break that negativity and have them believe that we're going to be a sustainable winner year in and year out, and they come to the ballpark and enjoy it.
Given the offseason you just had, have you seen ticket sales increase compared to maybe what they were the last few years at this time of year?
I missed that. What was that?
Given the offseason that you guys just had, have you seen an increase in ticket sales compared to maybe what was the last few years?
We've seen a decent, significant percentage increase. That's really encouraging. It's what I was hoping for. And frankly, you want a full stadium because, you know, you want a lot of noise there, and you want the opposing teams to really feel it when you know, they're playing us. And so it's important that the fans come out and support the team.
Steve, you seem to have a lot of fun personally with last year's run, getting as far as you guys did. Whenever you start thinking about the business sense of what you're doing, does that pop in your head and like, you know what, I'm going to go beyond what I thought the financial limits were because I want that feeling again for me. I want it for the team. Does that still sit in the back of your mind?
When you go through what, you know, that playoff run and the to make the playoffs, I mean, how much fun was that? I mean, that month was one of the I hadn't felt anything like that. You know, I don't know if I ever felt anything of that type of emotion. That was like on almost a daily basis. And so when you get that feeling, you want more of that. And so, I mean, it's really, that's really what you're playing for, the opportunity to get into the World Series and playoff baseball is so much fun. I mean, it rises to another level. I mean, they're all playing hard during the year, but everyone takes it up a notch, and that's a lot of fun.
For as fun as that was, could you imagine what winning a World Series would be like?
Listen, that's the goal, right? I mean, just those celebrations when you're amongst the players and the joy that they have in moving along and succeeding, going to the next round, and that's what they're playing for, and be a part of that is a unique experience.
You mentioned that feeling during October. Is there a moment this winter where the buzz wore off for you a little bit after you guys were eliminated?
Yeah, when I developed a frozen shoulder. I'm in pain every freaking night. It takes the buzz off pretty quick.
Was there any sort of
but actually, the way I would describe it is when it gets into the dead of winter and you're not playing baseball and you've just gone through something like that, you can't wait till the season starts again.
How eager were you to get the season off again?
Yeah, I'm excited. I mean, come on. There's nothing better than coming to spring training and you have all the hope that this year is going to be a great year, and you haven't lost a game yet, so I mean, you can hope, right? And I think there's more than hope here. I think we've built a pretty strong team.